Good morning folks, welcome. Today is day 3. We are purchasing gear for maps, getting ready for Uber Lab. Now when I'm purchasing gear on a budget and when I'm just finishing the campaign and getting ready for maps, it can be often difficult to decide how to gear your character, where to put your currency as you have little of it. And for me, I always like to lock one piece of gear in place. What I mean by that is once I've finished the campaign, whether I've ran blood aqueducts or anything, I like to sell off anything I've got, such as a card like this. I get all my currency together and I get one piece of gear in place that isn't going to change. That effectively allows you to plan the rest of your gear around it. For me, it was going to be my 5-link chest piece. Realistically, I wasn't going to 5-link something in 18 fuses and 6-socket it, so I had to purchase one. So I head out and I look for sort of corrupted pieces or cheap pieces with just the stats that I need, and then I can build around it. For me, I needed 2 blue, 2 red and a green on an armor base. So realistically, I wasn't going to be able to chrome this myself. Regaling stuff like that is going to be awkward because you're going to end up with 3 stats, then you have to craft on it and it may or may not turn out to be good. So I decided to spend a little bit more than say 3C and Regal, and I was looking at 10C items. I was thinking I'll spend a large chunk of my budget on these. Had some snipes up for items with the correct colours. Nothing was really hitting. Eventually I settled on a piece that just had 1,000 armour, some life, it had about 100 life, and it had a resist on it. Once I'd equipped that onto my character, I was obviously able to now build around that because that piece won't be changing. So we decided to look at rings with high resists and no life. We figured we could craft about 50 life on a ring for 2 alks. So we didn't need to look at life on a ring, which would bring the price down. Unfortunately, it's really difficult to figure out what ring you need to buy, because if you buy 100 resist, you could end up over-capped on fire, under-capped on cold when you look at belts, and it was becoming a bit of a mess. So I decided to just not look at rings for now and get another piece locked in place, which would allow me to sort of further plan my budget. So again, we had a look at the perfect ring. We typed in the stats that I think I would need exactly, and it turned out it was just too expensive. 40 chaos, 20 chaos, they're all way too much. I roughly had 3C to spend on each slot. Even these ones, 8C, almost double my budget. I had about 22 chaos and 6 slots to fill. And that was quite a lot of chaos for this stage of the league because I managed to find a Saint's Treasure. So being a Blade Flurry build and a Juggernaut, I'm intelligence starved, and I figured that's going to be the most difficult piece of gear. And also if I get a high intelligence amulet, I might be able to free up some passive slots because I'd taken some stat nodes, and that would ease my character, give it a bit more HP, maybe a bit more damage. And then if I'm taking out stat nodes, I could maybe put those into damage nodes, then I don't need fizz damage on rings and stuff, and it helps balance it out. Eventually, we looked around and we found this cheap and cheerful amulet. It had, I think, about 85 life. It had some attributes, which gives it effectively, I think it was about 100 life total. And it had all the intelligence I needed. And it also had lightning resist and an open slot. So this was a really nice purchase. It's nothing to write home about, but it did enable me to, again, plan my character. Now that I knew sort of, okay, I've got the right amount of intelligence to level up my concentrated effect through checking the wiki, I could move on to looking at different rings again. Now we know that once the 2 pieces of gear are equipped, we're really cold starved. We're massively in the arrears of cold. I think we're about -30. So simply, I looked up a massive cold ring. This had about 80 cold res with no life. It was 1C, and for 2 alchemy orbs, I was able to craft on 50 life. It also has strength, so it's got about 55 life. Again, moving on to the next ring, we're massively fire starved. So I'm trying to cover my stats in one piece of gear each. So one ring is cold, one ring is fire, my boots might be lightning, and it just makes it easier than trying to get triple res on all things. I prefer to go big on one. So I've got my cold done through my Alira Bandit and the ring. Now I'm looking for fire. This one has it's a ruby ring. It has 38 fire on top of it. It has 5 resistance to all as well, and it had an open slot, which I don't think he realized. So with 72 life, that's looking like a pretty good ring, and that covers the fire. And the reason that was cheap is people are always looking at triple stat rings, damage rings, but early on in the league, resists for me are key because they help you get going, and I was able to do that. Now that we've got some serious amount of resist locked in, we can look for a belt. The belt, I was just scanning for high life. I didn't think I'd need much resists on the belt because we've already got so many locked in. However, this one popped up and I haggled him down from 3C to 2. You will also note in the clips that in all of the clips, I never pay full price. At the start of a league, people are really desperate for currency. There's no reason to pay full whack, even if it means instead of giving him a Chaos Orb, giving him a Val Orb or whatever. I prefer to do that. So most of my gear, instead of being 4C, has been 3C. If it's been 3C, it's been 2. Just making that 1C sale. If you make 4 undercuts of 1C, that's a whole piece of gear extra, because I'm only able to spend 3C. So for the boots, again, it's really expensive to buy move speed boots. So at the end of Act 10, there is the move speed recipe, and I crafted that on myself, and I just looked for boots with life, and 1 res, which was lightning. The Star Conjures was just a flat price. I couldn't really lowball anybody for that, and that has no stats on it, so it doesn't really affect my gearing. So now I'm on to the last piece, and I understand that what I need. I don't need any resistances. All I need is high life to survive the lab. These have got a bit of mana leech on. They've got some strength. They've got an open slot. So for an alchemy orb, I can then craft attack speed on for a couple of chaos. So for less than 3C, we're ready, and we're fully equipped. We're fully geared out. It took roughly about 45 minutes to gear my character, roughly spending 3C per item. Well, exactly 3C per item, and that left me with enough currency to spend 2C on a Lion's Roar, which is a really big upgrade for the lab because it's more physical. It's 25% more physical damage for the sake of 2 to 3 chaos. So now that we were actually ready, we had our skills, we were able to play our skill for the first time. So this is what my build is looking like. It's Arn's Mites, it's a Juggernaut, it's Blade Flurry, and slowly but surely we are making our way through the campaign. We've done that, we've geared our character, we've done that, and now it's time to do the trials. Now the way I get the trials is I sit in Global 820 and I will give my trials away that I find in maps, so I'll complete them, I'll keep the offering to myself, and then I'll give them away. More often than not, early on in the league, people are generous and tip. I don't ask for tips in the game because it's really annoying when someone says, here's a free thing, but tip. What they really mean by that is the reason they're doing it in global chat is they want the tip, whereas I've actually found if you just give it away, people are more than happy to just tip anyway. I actually made about 7 to 8 chaos from giving away the trials that I'd found, and that again is going to help me maybe upgrade some of my gear later on. So again, you go /global 820 and people will be giving away their trials. I just keep a note of the trials I need and tick them off once I've done them. It's not a very fun aspect of the game trying to get your trials. I actually found 3 of them on my own. This one's from 66, a loyal viewer from the Twitch channel, so thanks 60 for this one. The rest of them came from me farming Iceberg, which was my only maps I had. So I farmed Iceberg, tried to get some levels, tried to get some XP and some more currency. And whilst I waited and I was farming the Icebergs, I had the global chat up and I would try and get the trials I needed. This did take a few hours. Unfortunately, it's one of them. Sometimes you might head in and you might get all your trials in 2 seconds. Sometimes you might be mapping and find them all yourself. But for me, as an Uberlag character and somebody that's already a little bit late into the league, I didn't map and try to find these myself. I just I decided to skip the process and sit in global chat because it is heavy RNG. You can sometimes get lucky, but most of the time you're going to be stuck needing that one trial. And if you're not going into global chat, you really play in the RNG simulator. And we all know Path of Exile, when you actually need something, it never happens. So that has been the day 3 update. My character is fully geared. Budget character, 3 chaos maximum on each slot on average. And We're now doing the trials. We are somewhat okay, and we will be attempting Uberlab after we've completed the trials, and hopefully doing some farming, making some currency, and then really interacting with the league mechanics. So thanks for watching. I've now got a small message at the end of this video, which I would greatly appreciate if you listen to. Thanks for watching. Thanks for making it to the end of the video. Unfortunately, my channel recently was demonetized / unavailable to earn revenue due to my network closing and an issue with AdSense, which is explained in the description below if you would like the full details. The ramifications of that, unfortunately, is that last year's revenue and all future revenue is gone from the channel. That took me a few days to get over. I was pretty bummed out about it, pretty down, but I figured I would keep up the content, and the only other way for me to sort of, I guess, keep this going is to, unfortunately, ask for your support. It's something that I wish I didn't have to do. It's something I prefer. I wish I could just run ads, keep making good content, getting views, and that alongside would help me. Unfortunately, I can't do that anymore. Again, full link in the description for the explanation. All I can say is, if you enjoyed the last league's content, the previous year's content, and you want to support me, there is a link in the description to do so. Again, my revenue was taken away from me. Everything was shut down, all contacts closed, and it left me in a bit of a tricky situation. So the only thing I know how to do is to send out some emails, send out some messages, and do my best to help myself. I've done that. Unfortunately, those routes and those communication channels I went through didn't happen to help me. As a result, I'm left with an unmonetized channel that can never be monetized, or any future channels can never be monetized due to an AdSense issue. So if you enjoy the content and you do want to see more, effectively, I won't do Patreon because I'm not consistent enough. I won't do these subscription-based things because, again, I'm not consistent enough. But if you enjoyed the previous league's work and you want to, chuck $1 in there, and keep me motivated and re-earn what I lost last year, that would be more than appreciated. And honestly, I wouldn't be able to say how much it's appreciated, because it just makes such a difference. Knowing people out there want to see the work and then been rewarded for it, which normally I would have been through my ads and my year's revenue, but it's just gone. Again, huge video in the description, but all I can say is, if you're enjoying the content, keep thumbsing up, keep commenting, and support if you want. That's all I can say. Thanks.